Hi guys, so I'm here for another First Chapter Friday. I do apologize for my voice. I've tried not to film this until I could get my voice better, but I guess this is about as good as it gets because we're here at the end of the week and it's time for First Chapter Fridays. I am outside because it was such a beautiful day today, so hopefully you can just ignore any background sounds that you hear and enjoy a book that is from our banned book selection. So if you did not know, Banned Book Week was this week. A week to kind of celebrate freedom of speech with writing and with what you read. The freedom to read what you deem appropriate for yourself. And so I have selected a book that has actually been banned. It says The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian by Sherman Alexie. So on the back it mentions that there is a lot of humor in this book, things that you might find funny. So if you're interested in humor, you might actually enjoy this book. We're going to read a chapter today to get you started and give you an idea if you're interested in this book. The Black Eye of the Month Club. I was born with water on the brain. Okay, so that's not exactly true. I was actually born with too much cerebral spinal fluid inside my skull. But cerebral spinal fluid is just the doctor's fancy way of saying brain grease. And brain grease works inside the lobes like car grease works inside an engine. It keeps things running smooth and fast. But weirdo me, I was born with too much grease inside my skull, and it got all thick and muddy and disgusting, and it only mucked up the works. My thinking and breathing and living engine slowed down and flooded. My brain was drowning in grease. But that makes the whole thing sound weirdo and funny, like my brain was a giant french fry, so it seems more serious and poetic and accurate to say, I was born with water on the brain. Okay, so maybe that's not a very serious way to say it either. Maybe the whole thing is weird and funny. But geez, did my mother and father and big sister and grandma and cousins and aunts and uncles think it was funny when the doctors cut open my little skull and sucked out all the extra water with some tiny vacuum? I was only 6 months old and I was supposed to croak during the surgery. And even if I somehow survived the mini Hooper, I was supposed to suffer serious brain damage during the procedure and live the rest of my life as a vegetable. Well, I obviously survived the surgery. I wouldn't be writing this if I didn't, but I have all sorts of physical problems that are directly the result of my brain damage. First of all, I ended up having 42 teeth. The typical human has 32, right? But I had 42. 10 more than usual. 10 more than normal. 10 teeth past human. My teeth got all so crowded that I could barely close my mouth. I went to Indian Health Service to get some teeth pulled so I could eat normally, not like some slobbering vulture. But the Indian Health Service funded major dental work only once a year, so I had to have all 10 extra teeth pulled in one day. And what's more, our white dentist believed that Indians only felt half as much pain as white people did, so he only gave us half the Novocaine. What a guy, huh? Indian Health Services also funded eyeglass purchases only once a year and offered one style, those ugly, thick, black plastic ones. My brain damage left me nearsighted in one eye and farsighted in the other, so my ugly glasses were all lopsided because my eyes were so lopsided. I get headaches because my eyes are like enemies, like they used to be married to each other, but now they hate each other's guts. And I started wearing glasses when I was 3, so I ran around the res looking like a 3-year-old Indian grandpa. And oh, I was skinny, I'd turn sideways and disappear. But my hands and feet were huge. My feet were a size 11 in 3rd grade. With my big feet and pencil body, I looked like a capital L walking down the road. And my skull was enormous. Epic. My head was so big that little Indian skulls orbited around it. Some of the kids called me Orbit, and other kids just called me Globe. The bullies would pick me up, spin me in circles, put their fingers down on my skull and say, I want to go there. So obviously, I looked goofy on the outside, but it was the inside stuff that was the worst. First of all, I had seizures. At least 2 a week. So I was damaging my brain on a regular basis. But the thing is, I was having those seizures because I already had brain damage. So I was reopening wounds each time I seized. Yep, whenever I had a seizure, I was damaging my damage. I haven't had a seizure in 7 years, but the doctors tell me that I am susceptible to seizure activity. Susceptible to seizure activity. Doesn't that just roll off the tongue like poetry? I also had a stutter and a lisp, or maybe I should say I had a stutter and a lisp. You wouldn't think there's anything life-threatening about speech impediments, but let me tell you, there is nothing more dangerous than being a kid with a stutter and a lisp. A 5-year-old is cute when he lisps and stutters. Heck, most of the big-time kid actors stuttered and lisped their way to stardom. And geez, you're still fairly cute when you're a stuttering and lisping 6, 7, and 8-year-old. But it's all over when you turn 9 and 10. After that, your stutter and lisp turn into a retard. And if you're 14 years old like me, and you're still stuttering and lisping, then you become the biggest retard in the world. Everyone on the res calls me this about twice a day. They call me it when they are pantsing me, or stuffing my head in the toilet, or just smacking me upside the head. I'm not even writing down the story the way I actually talk, because I'd have to fill it with stutters and lisps. Then you'd wondering why you're reading a story written by someone like this. Do you know what happens to us on the res? We get beat up. At least once a month. Yep, I belong to the Black Eye of the Month Club. Sure, I want to go outside. Every kid wants to go outside, but it's safer to stay at home. So I mostly hang out alone in my bedroom and read books and draw cartoons. I draw all the time. I draw cartoons of my mother and father, my sister and grandmother, my best friend Rowdy, and everyone else on the res. I draw because words are too unpredictable. I draw because words are too limited. If you speak and write in English or Spanish or Chinese or any other language, then only a certain percentage of humans will get your meaning. But when you draw a picture, everybody can understand it. If I draw a cartoon of a flower, then every man, woman, and child in the world can look at it and say, that's a flower. And then there's actually a drawing right here, one of his drawings. So every now and then there's a little bit of a cartoon. It says, the rain in pain. And here's an additional one on the next page. So I draw because I want to talk to the world. And I want the world to pay attention to me. I feel important with the pen in my hand. I feel like I might grow up to be somebody important. An artist, maybe a famous artist, maybe a rich artist. That's the only way I can become rich and famous. Just take a look at the world. Almost all of the rich and famous brown people are artists. They're singers and actors and writers and dancers and directors and poets. So I draw because I feel like that might be my only real chance to escape the reservation. I think the world is a series of broken dams and floods, and my cartoons are tiny little lifeboats. And then the next chapter is why chicken means so much to me. And so, again, the story, it's the absolutely true diary of a part-time Indian. We have this first come, first serve for checkouts. And so I hope you enjoyed reading a little bit about the story. I think it looks funny, but also can provide a lot of information that maybe you don't know about being a Native American. So this kid, the narrator, the person telling the story, is from the Spokane Indian Reservation, and so it's telling some about his life on the reservation. So come and check this out. I hope you enjoyed another First Chapter Friday.